Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Polio Jr. And in today's video, I just wanted to compare uh, different data transfer speeds, um, starting with the old school, considered old school now, the USB 2.0 port, the eSata port that a lot of computers do have, and the USB 3.0 port, so which is that blue port that you would see on uh, on most computers and laptops now. So, which transfers at a much higher rate than the USB 2.0 did. So this was just an Excel sheet that I made while I was while I was transferring certain files uh, to these external drives. So you can see for the first one here, um, I used this Seagate external hard drive, and I just put it in a regular 2.0 port. And what I did, you can see over here on the side, was I brought the file from the PC to the actual hard drive via the USB 2.0 port, and you could actually see that it did okay as far as writing to the hard drive. I mean, it was only a 5.8 gigabyte file, but it still took 3 minutes and 35 seconds, where the eSATA took almost half that time, 1 minute and 23 seconds, and that was going at 70.7 megabytes a second. And then finally, the USB 3.0 was wrote that file to the hard drive um, in 53 seconds, going at 110.72 megabytes a second. So I put these little references here just to let you know. These are just in order by when they were actually introduced to the market. Not when they were announced, but when they actually started being implemented. So the USB 2.0 being introduced in April of 2000, um, you know, it succeeded the USB 1.0, which was a hell of a lot slower. And I actually have something down here on it as well, or the 1.1. So either way, it was 12 megabits per second. So, and they got it up to 480 megabits per second, which equals 60 megabytes a second. So anyway, uh, there might be too many numbers here. The long story short of what I'm trying to show you is that um, USB 2.0 is gradually becoming obsolete. Everything is just going to be, if you're going to be using a USB port, it's going to be at least 3.0. And like I said, all I was trying to do was compare the data transfer speeds on external hard drives. So all these are external hard drives. These are the exact ones that I used. Um, so the eSATA drive really showed its colors in a lot of these tests as far as transferring. And initially I had it at number 2, but there was a couple things that it actually did beat the USB 3.0 in, even if it wasn't by a substantial amount. So um, over here we see that these are the files that went over. So it says PC to external hard drive. Obviously, anything that you are bringing from your internal hard drive to your external hard drive is going to take a little bit longer. So you can see with the USB 2.0, it took 3 minutes and 35 seconds to write it on the external hard drive, but it only took a minute and 21 seconds to actually retrieve it from the external hard drive. And then the same thing with the eSATA, 1 minute 23 seconds. You can see how the time drops incredibly from USB 2.0 to eSATA. And not to sidetrack here, but this is what if you haven't really seen eSATA, I definitely highly recommend it, because it is right on par with USB 3.0. And if you have the eSATA port in your laptop or your tower, all you have to do is purchase that eSata cable, and you'll be transferring extremely close to the USB 3.0, because you have to remember that where it says, I wrote down here, the max transfer rates are, these are the max transfer rates. It doesn't mean you're actually going to hit that. So as you can see on the USB 3.0, now for USB 3.0 it's actually 5 is the max transfer rate. So, but it actually and 5 gigabits a second, which is equal to 625 megabytes a second. So this thing hit up to 334 uh, megabytes a second as far as going from the external hard drive to the PC. But let's just get right in. Let's just go to the most simplistic view as possible. So we're looking at USB 2.0 in general, and we're just seeing, obviously in general, that the speeds are slower regardless if we are writing to the hard drive or if we are actually retrieving files from the hard drive. So, but in any scenario, the retrieving files from an external hard drive is going to be quicker than actually writing it to them. So, and so I just did 2 different kinds of files. So one was almost 6 gigs, and then the other one was approximately 1 gigabyte. So I wanted to see what the difference would be for a quicker file, and then something that was a little bit larger on how fast it would go. Now, the one thing that did surprise me, and maybe it was just the capability of the actual Seagate external hard drive that I have here, was that it did go to 250 megabits per second, and it was not plugged into the USB 3.0 port. So that was actually just from that was from actually retrieving the file. But in any case, yeah, took about 4 seconds to retrieve a 1 gigabyte file. So that was really the only surprising part, and maybe that was just because of because we were retrieving it instead of writing to it. But anyway, moving on to the eSata drive. The eSata drive was actually available to the consumer in 2004. Now, they have at the moment 3 different transfer rates: 1.5 gigabits, 3 gigabits, and 6 gigabits. So I believe the one that I have, which you see up here, um, maxes out at 3 gigabits per second. That's what it maxes out at. So this was like the second version of eSata, and we can see the same thing that goes all across the board. That uh, writing to the hard drive took longer, and and then actually retrieving the file took sometimes almost half the amount of time, but for the most part. So, but the biggest thing I just wanted to show you was just the comparison between the eSata, I guess you would call it 2.0, because mine is the maxes out at 3 gigabits per second. So if we're looking at eSata 2.0, and then we're looking at USB 3.0, now we're not looking at 3.1 or 3.2, eSata really held its own against the Seagate SRD00F1 3.0 external hard drive. Now, with the actual 5.8 gigabyte file, the Seagate did better as far as the time went, so it was able to write it to the external hard drive in 53 seconds using the USB 3.0 port at 110 megabytes per second, whereas the eSata did it in a minute and 23 seconds at 70 megabytes a second, which still isn't terrible. So, but then I go down again and I see, okay, so retrieving it from the hard drive actually was, you know, not this huge difference, but it was 4 seconds quicker with the eSata external hard drive. So I was like, okay, okay. And then we go on to the smaller files, and writing to the external hard drive with just a 1 gigabyte file um, only took 3 seconds, where writing just a 1 gigabyte file, for whatever reason, I did this test over and over and over on the 3.0 version, and there isn't anything wrong with the hard drive. It took 11 seconds to write uh, 1 gigabyte to the external hard drive. So the eSATA uh, blew that test out of the water. And then, last but not least, the USB 3.0 went up to, I think this is the highest one here. It retrieved the 1 gigabyte file um, in 3 seconds, so so going to about 334.37 megabytes a second compared to this 250 here. So, like I said, it's still a smaller file, but actually retrieving it, um, yeah, was the biggest difference here. Overall, I still think that USB 3.0 is the way to go. So, like, if I were to, it was just so close, I couldn't give them an appropriate rating. But if I was, I would give Seagate, or I would give USB 3.0 and up, you know, the 10 out of 10, and then I would give eSATA like at the moment, a 9 out of 10. I know that USB 3.1 and 3.2, the data transfer speeds are absolutely ridiculous, and I even have some of that down here. Just showing you even all the way back to to USB 0.7, which was initially released in 1994. So, but anyway, going to um, the USB 2.0, which we looked at, uh, the highest speed is 480 megabits per second. So, which is 60 megabytes a second, which is still really good. Um, but maybe not for your. It's still really good, but just I guess if you're dealing with internal storage, I think it just seems really good because our internet speeds are getting that quick now. So, but then you see that jump, and it took them 10 years to release this USB 3.0, going from 480 megabits a second to 5 gigabits per second, and that's the port that I have on my computer right now is the 5 gigabits per second, so which is 625 megabytes a second. It's absolutely crazy. And then you can see they did, after almost 3.5 years, they go to 10 gigabits a second, and I think that's the first time. Yeah, it goes. That's 1.25 gigabytes a second, which is crazy. And then the newest one that came out, the USB 3.2, is 20 gigabits a second, which is 2.5 gigabytes a second, which is absolutely insane. That means you could download any game from Steam in a couple of seconds, basically, or at least less than a minute. So here was just a quick test I wanted to show you, and just basically what I was doing earlier. So, um, so here we have the USB 2.0, we have the USB 3.0, and then we have the eSATA drive. So we'll start with the slowest one, and we'll just go right into bringing over a 1 gigabyte file to it. So and we can already see, um, you know, how much time it's going to take. I know I do have the screen recorder and so forth running, but to be going, you know, this slow right now is absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to change that. I know like I said, I definitely have a couple of things running. And then we'll go to eSata and we'll bring it over. eSata is fantastic. It's just not a lot of people know about eSata. So, um, but yeah, like I said, so you can see that just boom, 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 just going right away, really quick. And then going over to USB 3.0, dragging over the 1 GB file. And I remember when these files seemed like, when a gigabyte seemed, um, you know, humongous. You know, just trying to transfer a gigabyte seemed like, you know, that it was gonna take, you know, over a week to transfer and things like that. But now you can literally do it in a couple of seconds, which is absolutely insane. So, but yeah, that's really just what I wanted to show you. All of my hard work put into this little Excel sheet. So, yeah, USB 2.0 is being phased out. Um, eSATA is still very much around, and USB 3.0 is just the standard now. And like I said, it's easily discovered uh, by being the actual blue USB port, and your transfer rates are, you know, like 15 times faster than that of USB 2.0 technically. So, but if you actually are going to get an external hard drive, um, I'd actually recommend getting one that has both eSATA and USB 3.0. So in here, these were the actual uh, hard drives that I was using to test everything. So I'll put a link to all these in the description because they're not expensive at all. This was the Seagate 2 TB, which and they have it up to 5 TB on Amazon. And then this was one that I actually found earlier, in which I'm actually considering purchasing, because this has USB. This is a 4 TB external hard drive and has USB 3.0 and 3.1. So, and if what was that 3.1? 3.1 was 10 gigabits a second, which is 1.25 gigabytes a second, which is absolutely insane. So, and it comes with the eSATA as well. So you can use that USB. Um, you can use the USB 3.1 and download at some ridiculous speed, while also testing eSATA. So I know they're having like a decent little sale on this, so I'm definitely going to add this to my watch list. And this is the 4 TB one, which is still really good. I mean, that's next to nothing here. And just out of curiosity, let's see what the 12 TB one is. Holy crap. $535. But still, I mean, nowadays that's like almost normal. So to have, to have it at least, 4 to 5 TB, is like the minimum now. So, but I know they were having a sale on that 4 TB hard drive. Yeah, 25% off. But it has USB 3.0 and the USB 3.1. So if you want to have a data transfer speed of over a gigabyte a second, then I would highly recommend this Phantom drive, which I'll leave a link for in the description. So other than that, I really don't have much else. It was just showing you, I was just showing you what the speeds were as far as transferring to and from these external hard drives that were either USB 2.0, eSATA, and USB 3.0. So, and then just showing you the time differences and the speed differences and so forth, as far as and using two different files to see what the difference would be. So using, almost a 6 GB file and using about 1 gigabyte file, just to show you what the actual transfer speeds were. So I would still, like I said before, just to reiterate, I would still go with the USB 3.0 and up hard drives. So, but more specifically, since I really do like eSATA and it is standard on a lot of PCs and laptops now, I would go with something like the Phantom Drive external hard drive, where you have the option to use both. And worst comes to worst, um, USB 3.0 is backwards compatible, and you can use it on a 2.0 hard drive. I mean, a USB 2.0 port. It would just take forever, or it would just seem like it would take forever because USB 3.0, 3.1, and 3.2 and eSATA are just so much faster than USB 2.0. I mean, it almost came out. It came out over 18 years ago. USB 2.0. So, all right, I think that's all I got. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure to check out pauliojr.net. That's pauliojr.net.